Alright, man. Black Kray tier list. I have a few notes before I get into this. So I just didn't include collab projects and I didn't include EPs. If this video does well or I get people asking me to cover those projects, I'll do a part 2 to this. Kind of like how I did with High C. But yeah, here are the projects I'm covering and let's just get into it. Now I think Kray is really consistent. I think that he's almost always putting out quality. The one exception to that is one project, that being I boinked Taylor Swift, blah, 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 blah. It's this album with the writing on it. I don't know how to say the album cover. When I read it, it's in a different order, but then when I see it on the cover, it's in a completely different order too. So yeah, this project, this is Kray's one straight bad project. This sounds like Kray got the most minimal beat ever, recorded a freestyle over it of just him mumbling words, and then recorded it over a bad mic, and then recorded that song again over an even worse mic. That's what this is for 22 minutes. It's just slop. It's kind of like the first Ween album, Erica Peterson's Flaming Crib Death, where it's just noise, man. This is just 22 minutes of noise. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of this project. I think it's bad, and it's probably Kray's only miss. It's a strong 1 to a light 2. It's bad, man. This project's bad. Then above that, going into C tier now, we have Nokia Talk. I was never the biggest fan of this project, even on first listen, and it just continuously grew off me as time went on. This is some of Kray's most pop rappy sounding music. It's not the best. He's in his more melodic bag here, which I don't usually mind, but on here I feel like the production and his vocals don't really make for the best pairing. I still think it's good. I think it's a little inconsistent though. Some of his vocals are just I don't know, man. Something about this project just doesn't sound like Kray. It sounds like him trying to go pop rap, like I said. I don't know, man. I just don't really like this project. I could go to someone like a Young Lean for this type of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Not the biggest fan. It's good, though. It's good. Going into B tier, though, we have Still Struggling, Still Shining. This one kind of reminds me of Soja Love, Rari World, in the sense that there are some really great songs, but then there's also some songs with just straight goofy instrumentals. I'll talk about that when I get to Soja Love, but this is just kind of feels like an offshoot of that. There is a good 30-40 minute mixtape here. I think that this album is insanely bloated. It's a mix of pretty good songs as well as songs with just straight goofy instrumentals that don't really do much for me. And Kray's kind of in his more melodic bag on here, kind of like Thug Angel a little, except Thug Angel is way better because of its consistency. But this project, Still Struggling, Still Shining, is just a little too inconsistent, and it's just a little bloated is all. It's also kind of forgettable for Kray. I could just listen to his other melodic albums instead of this. Still Struggling, Still Shining is a light 8. If I didn't rate Nokia Talk, that's a light 7 for me. Above that, though, we have Chain Gang Halo World. This project is also really good. I just think the back half is really weak. It's not inherently bad. It just kind of falls off, where it becomes pretty inconsistent, and it just isn't as good as the first half. The first half feels like the best parts of Still Struggling, Still Shining, and then the back end feels like more Nokia Talk. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, I wish we had more of that Still Struggling, Still Shining sound here, because when he's in that bag, it's actually pretty good. Cut this down to just the first half of this record, maybe the first 2/3, and it's actually pretty strong. But as is, it's a little weaker in comparison to everything else in Kray's catalog. It's still great, though. It's a great project. It's a light 8 for me. Above that, though, we have Blank Sick Boy, the project that was executively produced by Filthy. This project starts really weak with just 2 really boring, really goofy songs. But then it peaks so hard with just some fiery production from Filthy and some fire flows from Kray, too. I like Kray in his trap bag because it's just really simple, just really fun stuff, and that's what this project is. It's really nothing crazy. It's just a really fun short listen. Yeah, I like this one a lot, even if the first 2 tracks are a little goofy. Feeling like a decent 8 on this one. I think it's pretty good. Above that, though, we have Kray's Trippin' to Rage on his latest project, City of Crows, that going above Sick Boy. This record feels like a more minimal High C. You take away all the samples and all the crazy synths, and you're just left with these really simple, really punchy beats. And Kray's flows, oof, he just flows across this record, man. It's super consistent. As I said, it's a fun, super short listen. Just really enjoyable, man. It's really hard not to enjoy. This project is also a decent 8 for me. It's really good. Above that, though, we have Kray's first project, Vert, Money, and a Word. I did not expect early Kray to sound this fuzzy. Seriously, when I heard Twerkin' 10 for the first time, I was absolutely shocked. I was like, what is going on, man? Vert Money, though, is a really good installment in Kray's early catalog. A lot of fun, fuzzy tracks, and a lot of tracks that actually appear on his other early tapes. I noticed this one going through them, because I listened to most of his early tapes in 2 days, is that there's a lot of shared songs between the tapes. And while this record doesn't really have the lowlights of some of the other early projects, this doesn't really have the highs of some of the earlier projects. as though it's still really great. Just has that really nice old Kray fuzzy sound that I really like. This project is a decent to strong 8. It's really underrated too. I really appreciate this project. Above that though, we have Goth Love. This is a really great Kray project. It kind of feels like a very introductory listen for Kray. This really just shows what Kray is all about. You got some cloud rap, like I said, you have the Witch House, and you have some trap on here. I feel like if you're trying to get into Black Kray, I'd definitely say start with this project. It really displays his sound, and I think it's pretty good too. It's a decent to strong 8 for me. It's a really solid project that I really enjoy. And then above that is Trap Art, one of his earlier tapes. This one is super hazy. There's like one song on here that just, oh my god, it's so depressing, man. I really need to re-listen to this project at night because I feel like it would be insanely good at night. The production on here is a mix of like trap, but also like, oh my god, you got some of his floatiest songs on here. Like I said, like those first few tracks are crazy, man. Like they just had me like ascending. I was like, is this even Kray anymore? Because it felt like a completely different artist. This project is really good. I just wish it went in that more like depressing and really subdued direction more. As though it's pretty fire, man. It's also a decent to strong 8 for me. Above that though, we have Twerkin' 10 Cell Phones. I think this project is a little overrated. I see a lot of people saying like this is his best early tape or it's one of his best projects in general. When yes, it's pretty good, but I feel like there's so many moments on here where I'm just kind of sleeping. This project kind of reminds me of the new Future and Metro album where I can't tell if I love or hate it. Because there are moments on here where I'm just like, what is going on? This kind of reminds me of his worst project. But then there's moments on here where I'm like, this is crazy good with the samples and whatnot. It's really fuzzy, it's really grimy, it's hard to get into, but when it hits really hard, man. There are some weak moments on here though, like I said, but it's definitely a fire tape, I will say. I'm feeling a strong 8 on this one. I feel like if it was just cut down a little, man, you remove the filler, it's like an A or S tier album for me. It's pretty fire. I actually put this under it. That project being Coke and Ice Cream. This feels like a shortened Twerkin' 10 with some vert money thrown in. It has some weaker moments near the front end of the tape, kind of like Twerkin' 10, but it's overall pretty consistent. It's just another fire early Kray tape, man. I don't really know what else to say. Like I said, they all kind of sound the same because they share certain songs. Coke and Ice Cream is a very strong 8. It's a very quality project. And I'll actually throw Twerkin' 10 into A tier. This is a light 9 for me. Yeah, it grew on me when I started talking about it and thinking about it. Under Twerkin' 10, actually, I'll throw Ice Cream Still Mackin'. It feels like a combination of Goth Love and Ice Cream and Mac 10s. It's super floaty, but it's also really like synth heavy too. There's an LCD Sound System sample on it. That shocked me because I had just been listening to LCD Sound System before, which is very coincidental. As though it's a really short, really floaty tape from Kray. Really nothing more to say here. I just love it when Kray drops short little projects because they tend to be really fire, and this is definitely pretty fire. It's a light 9 for me. Really enjoy this project, man. I'm actually going to throw this project under Ice Cream Still Mackin', that project being Nightmare on Elm Street. This is a very consistent trap tape from Kray. The production is very fire and his flows, oh my god, he just goes off. On most of Kray's trap projects, he just tends to go off on the beats and it's really fire, and that's definitely what this project is. It does get a little weak near the end with some goofy instrumentals that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but for the most part, it's pretty simple, pretty enjoyable, pretty fun. It's a light 9 for me. And then I'll throw this project above Ice Cream Still Mackin', that being Working Out the Mud. This project has one of Kray's best songs on it, that being, I'm pretty sure it's the second or third track, man. I do not remember, but that beat and Kray's flow, that's one of his best flows ever. I'm trying to remember what it is, but that song made me like get up out of my chair and made me freaking fly into the sky because it was crazy. I was like, yo, this is one of Kray's best flows ever. That being said, the back end of this project is a little weaker than the front end. Kray just gets a little too sleepy on these hard-hitting instrumentals. And while, yes, I still enjoy it, I just think he could have had more high energy is all. Because like I said, when he's in that bag where he's just going off, it's peak, man. It's peak. And while this project is still really fire, I wish he had higher energy is all. This project is a light 9, though. Really enjoy this one. It sucks to put this one so low. I'll put this one above Twerkin' 10, that being Soja Love Rari World. This definitely could have been peak Kray if there weren't as many goofy songs on here as there were. Because boy, when this album hits, man, it hits. It hits so hard. It's so consistent. It is so fiery. The production is floaty. But then there's like at least a fourth of this record that is so goofy with these little stupid synthy instrumentals that I don't like at all. Seriously, the weakest tracks on here kind of remind me of like early Lil Ugly Mane, with just those like goofy synths that I'm just not a fan of at all. Kray's vocals on here are a little hit or miss, but for the most part, he delivers. I just think this project definitely could have been cut down. Like, take all the goofy songs out of here, probably S tier. This project is still fire though, and is a light to decent 9 for me. Above that though, I will throw 700 Degrees. This was one of my first Kray tapes. I remember I listened to Crack Clouds. I liked it, but I wasn't like the biggest fan of it. Then I listened to Thug Angel, didn't like it at all. And then I listened to this one, and then I really liked it. Off re-listen though, it kind of grew off me. It's still really consistent. I just feel like there aren't that many highlights on here. It is a really floaty, really cozy tape though, I will admit. Seriously, this album is really chill. Really like the production, really like Kray's voice on here. And it's just something that you could just kind of relax to. This project's really good, man. I'm feeling like a light to decent 9 on this one too. It's really good. I'll actually throw this project under 700 Degrees. That being Thug Angel. I'm glad this project really grew on me. Like I said, I didn't like this project at all on first listen, but on second listen, it really grew on me. Kray's in his melodic bag on here, and while I'm not the biggest fan of it all the time, for the most part, it's really good. I feel like this genuinely could have been peak music if there was a layer of reverb on it. Because seriously, it feels like it's trying to be floaty, but the instrumentals just feel a little stiff to me. Seriously, someone dropped like a remaster of this album with like reverb on it, and it's made instantly better. It's still a really good project that's insanely consistent and just not really letting up on fire. I just feel like it could have been floatier. I don't really know how else to word it. I just wish it was floatier is all. It's a light to decent 9 though. It's a very good project. Sorry, the ordering's a little weird. I'll throw this one under Thug Angel, that being 4,000 Degrees. This one is just fire, man. This is Kray in that trap bag, and he's just like, oof. He's just going crazy on this one. The production is really snappy. He's just going off, man. And while it's a little long, it's actually really consistent and really fire. This project is really fun and really easy to enjoy. And like the cover would suggest, it's fire, man. This is a light to decent 9 for me. I really enjoy this project. Then I'm going to throw this one under 700 Degrees, that being Ice Cream Mac 10s. This is basically just Thug Angel if it had a reverb, man. Because this is what I want, man. It's so floaty. It's super spacey. Ooh, the female like intermission lady, she kind of reminds me of the lady on Midnight Marauders by A Tribe Called Quest. She's just kind of saying random things in the middle of songs, but like it works so well. Kray is so good on here, and the production, oh my god, man. I would say that the production carries, but Kray does go crazy on this project. It's a super spacey project, super fun, and just, ooh, it's like the perfect night album, man. You want to chill out and just play some video games in like a dark room, this is the project you do that to. This tape freaking slaps, man. It's a light to decent 9 for me. And then above 700 Degrees, I'll throw City of Doves. This freaking tape blew me away. This has one of Kray's best songs on it as well, that being Princess Cut My Wrists, which is surprisingly emotional. Everything else is fire too. The production is some of the best Kray's ever gone over, and his flows are just unmatched. This, kind of like Goth Love, is one of the best Kray projects to start with. It's insanely consistent, kind of displays his arsenal to you, and it just goes hard, man. This project slaps. It's a decent 9 for me. I might throw this project in S tier. We'll see though. I'll throw it at the top of A for now. That project being Selena Gomez Trap House. Jesus Christ, this is his best early tape. It basically takes all the best parts of all the early tapes, condenses it down into a really consistent, really focused project, and just, oh my god, it's so good. Like, I can't describe it any better than that. It's literally like if you took the best parts of all his early tapes and then put it into one. It feels like a cut down, condensed version of Twerk in 10, and it really works. With some fantastic samples, some great vocals, and just, oh my god, the vibe on this, oh, it's crazy. This is easily one of his best projects and genuinely a really underrated tape from him. This is a decent 9 for me. I could see it being a decent to strong 9, but I'll keep it a decent 9 for now. And then I'll throw this project into S tier, that project being Crack Clouds over Art's Kitchen. This has genuinely grown to be like a top 10 favorite album of all time for me. It's definitely a top 10 rap album, but if we're doing like all genres, it's probably still top 10, but I don't know. This project is insane, dude. This also has his best song on it, that being Hydrocodone. That's a pretty generic take, but like I don't really care. That song freaking slaps. It's so good, man. It's consistent. It is fire. There's no misses on here. It is super catchy. It's super floaty. It's super freaking weird and really like crunchy too. It has his best song. And to top it all off, we have a song on here produced by one of my favorite artists of all time, Charlie XCX. This project is Kray's masterpiece, or his magnum opus. It's insanely good, man. This is a 10 for me, easily. It's so good. And there's my Black Kray tier list. I feel like I had kind of similar things to say about a few of his projects, but I tried to keep it interesting. I think that his catalog is so consistent, dude. Like, seriously, people say I glaze Peggy by like saying he has 610s, but I feel like I'm glazing Kray right now by having a bunch of his freaking albums in A and B tier. If it weren't for that one tape in F tier, he'd have a perfect catalog easily. He's definitely a top 15 favorite rapper for me, and he's probably the best melodic rapper of all time. Yeah, he's super good, man. Super consistent, super fire. Really enjoyed doing this, man. Share your rankings in the comments as always. Glad you made it this far in the video, and hope to see you in the next one.